So why am I getting divorced after a year and a half? I got married at 28 and I'm 29 and currently getting a divorce. And I owe it to you guys to explain to you why I'm getting a divorce because over 10 million of you guys watched me get married last year across Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and a lot other wedding content that I put out. I'm a lifestyle creator, and so, you're going to see my life, the ups, the downs, all of it. It is just a part of the process. But the reason why I do want to share why I'm getting divorced is because I got married to a narcissist unknowingly, and it was all built upon a lie. And I started talking about this on Threads and on my Twitter account, and I shared some of that to my Instagram stories. And since sharing that, I've gotten hundreds of DMs from women who are in the same situation or who have been in that situation. And so many of them have told me, I'm so grateful that you've been talking about this and that you've been transparent about this because I didn't have the strength to leave. Now that I'm seeing that you are leaving so soon as well, I'm now inspired to leave. I do want to talk about this specifically when
That for me, that's the main reason why I share these stories is because I don't know who's going to see this, and I want them. If they see this, I want them to go, and I want you know what I mean. Like if they need to see this and they are in a similar situation, I want them to know that there's a community of people out here that exist that are they have similar stories, and if they can do it, you can do it. You know what I mean? Like I definitely just want people to be empowered to protect themselves if they can. You know what I mean? And without me actually telling them that they can do it, because I don't feel like it's my place to tell anybody, especially women, that they should leave a relationship or that they can leave anytime they want to or anything like that. That's not my place. It's really not. But listening to a woman, you know, and seeing a woman who may be in a similar situation to you do the thing that you have thought about doing, I think that can be empowering. So that's why I share the stories. Like that's pretty much it. On the flip side, I also share the stories so that men can see what the women are saying about us, right? So we can stop trying to do this like this gaslighting, of women and lying and being like, oh no, that's not way. It goes both ways. And like, no. Listen to what they're saying. I'm just building a case. Right? I'm just building a case against men right now. That's it. I'm the prosecutor, right? Or I'm the public offender, whatever you want to say. But I'm building the case against men, right? And this is just me. I'm just compiling evidence. Like another story. Another what Khaled say? Another one. It's just another one. Just another one. In case you forgot, no. Men are still doing the same thing. And there is a network of women telling the exact same story about men over and over and over again. So either this woman is crazy and 100 million other women are crazy, or men are crazy. You choose.
it comes to the narcissistic abuse part, because you don't even realize it's happening to you while it's happening to you. For so many of us, we just didn't even know what was happening while it was happening. I'm going to share as much as I can. And I think it's also important for us to remember that there's a difference between narcissistic personality disorder and having narcissistic traits. Okay, those are two different things. So let's start from the beginning. So in 2020, I met my husband on Hinge, and I was living in New York City at the time, and I was working from home. I was working on Wall Street, and I was pretty isolated. Here comes my husband on Hinge, and he looks great, and he seems like a pretty decent guy, and he really sold himself as like this faith-based guy and like really serious with like really good intentions, and I bought it. Now he
Right off the bat, let's clock it. When we talk about the lies, right off the bat. So when men be up here, oh, it goes both ways, and the women, what did she look at this? This woman don't got to lie to nobody. She don't got to. Most women don't have to lie to anybody to get with them. Most women don't have to lie to men to get with them, right? But he was lying to her right off the bat From the very beginning, he was lying. From the very beginning, it was a plot. It was a plot from the very beginning. And most women will tell you this story. And when I say most women, y'all, I'm not even talking about women that are divorced or women that are, in miserable relationships. I'm saying most women will tell you a similar story. They'll love their husbands down. They'll be like, yeah, in the beginning, he was trying to act like he was this dude and that dude and da-da-da-da-da. But then come to find out he wasn't real. Tell me I'm lying. Most women, happily married, unhappily divorced, don't fucking matter. Ask them about the man that they met versus the man that they know now. They'll say something very similar to what this woman is saying.
He was going to be starting a job on Wall Street as well at a different firm. And I like the fact that he was already in the industry, so he understood my work schedule because I really did have a demanding schedule. Again, very normal guy, seemingly decent guy. The relationship is good to start. Towards the end of 2020, I started to pick up on the fact that our values weren't really aligned. And especially when it came to faith, there were some things that weren't adding up, right? So I did let him know that, hey, I think we should break up. I think we should part ways because, we're just not aligned. Now, he accepted it at first, but then he kept trying to message me and get back with me and saying, I really don't understand. I really miss us and all of that. And then he starts to mention the fact that there's a ring fund because, he sees me as his future wife that he's already gained 14% on. And I remember saying to him, I'm sorry, what does that have to do with anything? And so that is an example of, I think it's called love bombing. I am somebody who had a narcissistic parent. So I grew up on gaslighting. I grew up on manipulation. I grew up on love bombing.
Real quick, y'all, mind you, 5 years ago, she's 29 now. So she was 23, 24 when this was happening. She's 24 years old. She looks, she's very sophisticated and mature and all of that stuff. She was 24 fucking years old when this was happening to her. That's a lot. That's a lot for a person to figure out. That's a lot for a woman to clock. Let's be real. Let's just be honest. What Dave say? Let's just be real. Let's just be honest. Let's just be real. That's tough, man. That's why I never put the onus on the woman in these cases. I'm like, what do you expect a 24-year-old girl to figure? Like, this is hard. This is tough. This is tough. He already is a narcissist. This is what I want y'all to understand. It's easier to be a narcissist than it is to clock narcissistic abuse. That's all I'm saying. It's easier to be a narcissist. You can be a narcissist as a teenager. You can be a narcissist that's easy. It's hard to pick up on it.
So that feels familiar to me. I didn't really have the language for what exactly my soon-to-be ex-husband was doing at the time, but now that I do have the language for it, I see it for what it was, right? If you have broken up with somebody, they seemingly accept it, but then they're coming back and they're like, okay, but I have 14% on a ring fund, right? They're trying to lure you back in, right? They're trying to talk about all these things that they do for
They're trying to guilt you
or what they're doing for you to try to lure you back in. Now, I was resistant to his efforts. At the beginning of 2021, I do start a new job, and that job is actually at the firm that he's working at in a different capacity, but we've been broken up. We're still cordial. Now, he's still trying to get back with me. He's inserting himself in a way that's friendly, but also clearly he regrets that, we parted ways. Again, I'm focusing on my new job. I'm just focusing on getting my life together. He does become a source of support for me as I'm in this new job because he's already familiar with this firm. He knows how to support people, and he really is just a great friend to have. My birthday's in July, and yes, we're friends, we're not together, but he totally inserted himself into my birthday in a way that was I'm her man, got me a cake and everything. And I appreciated all of those efforts because at the end of the day, it's great to have somebody who is looking out for you and all of those things. But again, I wasn't cognizant of the fact that boundaries were not in place, right? And this is something that you have to be very aware of as a young woman when you're dealing with these men. Like, if you have broken up with somebody, right, there is no reason why they should still be coming around in that capacity. And if they keep coming around under the guise of friendship, right, because they love and care about you deeply as a friend, you need to be very careful. Because I was very convinced that, okay.
Real quick, if listening to this now, I could see if he really loved and cared about her, he would have respected her boundaries and let her come to him when she was ready. If she wanted to be friends with him, that's different, right? If she reached out to him, that's different. And he, oh yeah, cool, we could be friends. But that he, like she said, was inserting himself, that was a part of the manipulation, without a doubt.
Keeps showing up, and he's just around because, like, you know, he just cares deeply about me and he just wants to be the person that's there for me. Now, despite the fact that we're broken up, anybody who has shown any kind of interest in me, anyone who he knows is interested in me, he's creating obstacles for these people. He would want to spend like every waking moment of the weekend with me, and I just had zero space. This is another sign that you are dealing with a narcissist. They do not give you any space. Keep in mind, the job that I had at this time on Wall Street, I was working at the desk from 6:30 a.m. until roughly about like 6:30 p.m., right? So I'm 12 hours on the desk, Monday to Friday, and every waking minute of the weekend, he would want to spend time with me. I don't really like people like that. I like my space. I do believe that I am an introvert, and I really do need to recharge, especially when I'm in an office setting and when I'm around people for so long. Like, I need like to decompress, right? I'm blessed now that I work from home and I don't need to like recharge as much, but I really needed my space. Now it is fall of 2021, and he is really lobbying, really pushing that we get back together. And he's even convinced another one of my friends that he really loves me, he really sees a future with me, and, you know, for me to give him a chance. He's very, very, very convincing. Like, this man, he could sell you anything. He is really good. He puts on a great show. And even my friend is like, wow, like, I don't know any guy who's ever loved you this much. Like, this man he is so committed. And I'm like, yep, that is true. And I'm like, you know what? I'll give him a chance. We did get back together. At this point in my life, I wasn't really going out. I was just focused on myself. So if you weren't already in my immediate circle, if I didn't already know you, chances are we were not going to meet, because I went to work, I went home, I went to the gym, and I was just like focused on myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just where my head was at. Now, by December of 2021, he starts applying to some jobs in Florida because he says he wants to move back to Florida potentially. By January of 2022, he gets a job offer in Florida, and he also does get another job offer in New York, which in my opinion was more aligned with what he wanted to do career-wise, but he decides that he's going to take the job in Florida. Now, he's trying to say to me, you know, am I coming with him to Florida? I'm like, absolutely not. I have my here. At the time, I knew no one in Florida. No, I'm not going with you to Florida. And I had broken up with him because I was like, I'm not doing a long distance relationship. I just don't want that for myself. Now, after we got married, I found out that he actually told his coworkers and others, his friends and stuff, that the breakup was mutual when it wasn't, right? Because he was crying these crocodile tears, these fake tears. In retrospect, they were fake tears. They were narcissist tears. When I told him that, look, I'm not moving to Florida with you.
So he was trying to separate her, right? He was trying to get her from, you know, get her away from her support group, her friends, her family, or whatever, you know, whoever was out there in New York. I'm sure she had somewhat of a network of people because she spoke about a friend already. So, okay, that's what that seems like to me. Because why would you, to her point, why would you want to leave New York? Like, if you do what they do, you're not leaving New York. That's like being an actor and leaving Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would you leave Wall Street and you're you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense. You're in finance. You leave Wall Street to go to Florida? Fuck out of here. That's crazy.
I'm sorry, like, I'm not doing long distance. I have my career here. It is what it is. I think it was early February that he moved to Florida. Valentine's Day comes around 2022. Now, I think I'd gone out and I posted up like, you know, just in a cute dress or whatever. Who's calling my phone to find out if somebody took me out for Valentine's Day? My soon-to-be ex-husband. Mind you, I'm single, right? What did you think was gonna happen? Do you not think there is a line of men waiting to take me out? You're single, I'm single. It's none of your business. Why should I spend Valentine's Day alone, right? Like, you decided to move to Florida. I am living in New York. I'm gonna enjoy myself. You know what I'm saying? I tell him, look, you need to calm down and you need to focus on your life in Florida. There are a lot of baddies in Florida, right? Focus on the baddies in Florida. Let me live my life, right? Period. He's upset. He's not happy with it. It is what it is. Now, we didn't really talk for a while. I want to say like maybe about a month and a half, because I kind of cursed him out and I was like, look, you need to stop calling my phone. You need to leave me alone, like boundaries. He starts to weasel his way back in.
I ain't gonna even lie. I want to hear her get mad because she got a real like good, you know, she got a cool demeanor about her. But I know when she get up and going, I know them insults be flying like a motherfucker. Certain people, I got a friend like this. I got a friend like the first time I heard her curse, I was like, oh shit, she funny as fuck. I do want to hear her go off on this man. But yeah, whatever.
After a couple months of 2022, from the friendship angle, I started to post on TikTok in May. My first video that went viral on TikTok happened in the end of May. And in June of 2022, an anonymous account is created on Twitter. It has no posts. I'm still friendly with my soon-to-be ex-husband, right? He's still a friend to me, and that's that. I'm single in 2022. I'm focusing on myself. In August of 2022, I'm told by my boss that I'm being put up for early promotion. My soon-to-be ex-husband, at the time, I considered him to be one of my best friends because he always positioned himself to be like this source of support for me and just somebody who really loved me like unconditionally. Now, he was one of the two people that I let know that I was being put up for early promotion. Unbeknownst to me at the time, that same week, that anonymous Twitter account made some tweets using screenshots from my TikTok account, tweeting my firm and FINRA. Now, FINRA is the regulatory body that oversees broker-dealers, etc. Again, there are two people that I told that I was up for early promotion. He's the only one who would have known to tag FINRA in those tweets in an attempt to bring me down or to get me fired or to mess up my chances of getting promoted. I don't find out about these tweets because I wasn't even tagged and I wasn't really on Twitter like that. I was called into the office by compliance at my job and they were telling me that, hey, there's this FINRA investigation going on because this random Twitter account made these tweets referencing your content and they tagged the firm and they tagged FINRA. They just told me, hey, just keep an eye out, you know, let us know if you have any idea who it could be. And they told me that they'd be doing their own kind of investigation as well. I remember my boss saying to me, go look into that, go figure out like what's going on there. And I just thought, okay, maybe it's just like some random hater. I just had no idea who could be behind this kind of account. Now, if I'm experiencing a certain type of harassment on the internet, I do loop in my lawyer just to get an assessment of like, what do you think this is? And I remember my lawyer saying to me upon reviewing the Twitter account and reviewing the tweet, he said, honestly, Christine, we've seen this before many times. This account was created specifically to try to bring you down. These tweets are laced with jealousy. This is a classic case of jealousy. And he actually asked me, did you get put up for promotion or something? Did you get a promotion? Because I've seen this a lot before and it's clearly laced with jealousy. And he said, is there anyone you can think of who would be jealous about you getting a promotion? And I said, well, I only told two people. And those people, you know, in my mind, I was like, they would never be
no reason
with me. Plus, only one of those people would have known to tag my firm and to tag FINRA. And I remember asking my soon-to-be ex-husband, I was like, hey, did you tell anybody else? But he was so supportive. He was just like, oh my gosh, the fact that somebody would even do that to you, they're such a hater. You guys, this man was like...
That That right there is the equivalent of like a crackhead stealing your stuff and then helping you look for it. What? Oh, I already know what that. I already know. I already know what he was doing. Oh, damn! That's what somebody. You? Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh, no, you? They hating on you, babe. Wicked work.
Gosh, the fact that somebody would even do that to you, they're such a hater. You guys, this man was like praying with me. He was like, I want to pray with you against like the attacks of the enemy. It's not funny. Nothing about this is funny, by the way, but it's like at this point, all I can do is laugh, right? Because I was so convinced that this man was for me, right? He was praying with me, right? Now I know that he was behind that account. He didn't want me to get that early promotion because he knew that if I got promoted, there's no way I would be moving to Florida with him. And he had to figure out a way to get me to move to Florida because he just had to have me. Here this man is praying with me, being like, you know, I just don't know why anybody would try to do that to you. And like,
I'm curious to know, how did she find out it was him outside of just connecting like logical dots, which that's good enough. But I'm just curious, like, if she ever got to the bottom of it. There's 3 more parts to this. So I'm hoping she will answer that question. But so imagine finding out, like getting like concrete evidence that it was him. As soon as don't let me, I would have beat the dog shit out of him if I found out one of my homies hated on me like that. Get up out of here, boy. How you get that boy catching everything.
Just have all these haters now and whatnot. And he created this account in June of 2022 when he saw that like, okay, like her TikTok is growing. More people are gonna find her. So I gotta make sure by any means necessary that she doesn't find somebody better. He's telling me that, you know what, you're on the internet, you're on TikTok now, people can find your TikTok, so it's just probably somebody who hates on you. You've always had haters. It could be anybody. And I'm like, yeah, you know what, you're right. It really could be anybody at the end of the day. Now, nothing came from that investigation. I didn't get in trouble. I didn't get fired. But did those tweets mess up my chances for early promotion? Absolutely. So he was successful in his attempts. One thing that I did find out from my firm from this investigation process was that they had reason to believe that the person behind this account was a whistleblower. So they were a former employee and they were airing out their grievances while using me to do so. Now, January of 2023, I have a new challenge to focus on because the Black people at my firm have been getting underpaid now for 2 years. And we had clocked it the year before, but we were told that it was going to be corrected and we'd be made whole this current year, which was at the time 2023. That was not the case. In fact, it was even worse in 2023. Now, that kind of stuff doesn't sit well with me. And of course, I'm telling my soon-to-be ex-husband about what's going on because he is a friend of mine and he's very supportive. He's like, you know, trying to make sure that he could be there for me and just like support me in this time that I'm taking on this challenge of like pushing back against my firm. So one of the things that I do is I write a letter to the head of HR. Because of that letter that I wrote to the head of HR, an investigation was launched and they were like, yep, we messed up. People's pay needed to be revamped. Now, even though they fixed the pay of all of the Black employees that were hired through this program, it still wasn't the correct amount. We were still being significantly underpaid compared to our white peers for doing the same work. I was not happy with that solution because I knew that that was just them slapping a Band-Aid on a situation that literally needed surgery. So, you know, I lawyered up. One thing you're never going to do is you're never going to play with my money. I've now taken on this legal battle with a major Wall Street institution. I am literally drained and exhausted. I'm fighting for myself and others who are not even willing to fight for themselves, right? Because there are a lot of people on Wall Street and in corporate America who are just not willing to stand up for themselves. But here I am putting in the good.
Hey, real quick, is that the Nicki Minaj album? Is that Pink Print up there, or am I tripping? I don't know why that shit. My eyes keep getting drawn to that shelf over her head. I think that's Pink Print. I don't know. That shit look tight though up there. All right, never mind.
Now, at the time, I did go to spend some time in LA because I'm just actually mentally drained. And it was good because I think it was like a different type of isolation. But at the same time, my soon-to-be ex-husband used this opportunity to really weasel himself back in as a source of support for me. He would fly in from Florida, spend some weekends in LA with me. He was really just like this great source of support for me and convinced me to get back together with him. And I was like, honestly, like, he gets it. He understands what I'm going through, you know. And at this point, this man knows me well. He knows my family dynamics. He knows my triggers. He knows a lot about me, right? So he knows exactly what to say to get back in my life. Now,
I think a lot of men, when they talk about being friends first with women, we know men don't really care about being friends with women, but I think listening to what she's saying, I just kind of clocked something. I think the reason why they want to be friends with a woman is so that they can learn what makes a woman tick, and then they could use that to, like, manipulate her, to get into a relationship, whatever the case may be. That's what I honestly believe.
My triggers, he knows a lot about me, right? So he knows exactly what to say to get back in my life. Now, he starts talking about getting a ring and getting engaged somewhere around, I want to say, May or June of 2023. Truth be told, I should not have gotten engaged in the mental state that I was in 2023, because I was so drained by this battle. I was so exhausted for having to fight for what was clearly like standard. Like, the fact that I'm fighting for equal pay for Black people in 2023, it was just mind-boggling. You know what I'm saying? And just the back and forth with the legal situation, I was exhausted. But of course, the whole talks of engagement and all of that, and like just like my soon-to-be ex-husband being there for me and just being this great source of support, it was just kind of like, oh my gosh, like, he's so sweet. Again, I'm kind of in a daze in 2023. I'm dealing with a whole legal battle, but I'm still excited because it feels like, oh my gosh, at the end of the day, this is the light at the end of the tunnel. We get engaged in August. Now, once you get engaged, everybody's asking you, when is the wedding? When is the wedding? When is the wedding? So you have all this external pressure, and my family, my friends, everything. I'm a type A person, right? I didn't end up getting a planner for my wedding. I ended up planning it myself. So I'm completely caught up with planning my wedding. I'm still dealing with this legal battle. I have now moved to Florida. I still have my place in New York, but now I'm in Florida. Thankfully, now I know like 2 couples in Florida. So I do have a couple people there, but I'm now in a different state. I'm still dealing with this legal battle. I'm here planning a wedding. I'm also transitioning careers, right? Because when you go up against a firm in Wall Street, like, best of luck if you think you're going to have a career in Wall Street after that. But also, that experience left such a bitter taste in my mouth that I decided that I didn't want to work on Wall Street anymore. So I'd made my mind up that I was done with the industry. Now, this legal battle, I'm not done with it until roughly February of 2024. And I also want to provide the context that I wanted to take this to litigation because the evidence was all there. The wrongdoing was there, and it would have been a case that would have really changed a lot of things for the industry and people underpaying Black people in the industry.
They came at her with a settlement, though.
But my soon-to-be ex-husband was a big advocate for me settling, because he was like, you know what? I've seen how drained you've been. I've seen how exhausted you've been. And, just prioritize your peace and move forward. In retrospect, right, he just wanted me to, get paid quickly and just move along. That's what he wanted me to do. If it were up to me, I probably would have litigated. And my lawyers were ready and willing to litigate. Now, one thing to note is, even before we got engaged, this is before premarital counseling, we had gone through this book where we were just kind of like figuring out, like, what do we want out of life? Does this all make sense? Does it make sense to get married? For example, one of those questions in that book was like, okay, how many kids do you want? And I remember saying, okay, like, I want 2 to 3 kids. And he was like, oh yeah, I want 2 to 3 kids. Essentially what he did the entire time,
mirror.
I did not know this, but again, he is a great actor. He deserves an Oscar. He was mirroring me the entire time. He knew my family dynamics. He knew what I liked. He knew what I didn't like. And he was presenting himself to be the type of person that I would want in a husband. Another thing to note is 2023, he suddenly gets very bulked up, very muscular. Now, he was always athletic, but he was always on the slimmer side, right? 2023, he has bulked up, right? I'm like, okay, you know, what happened to you? He just has this newfound passion for the gym, I guess. I mean, he always went to the gym, but like he was never doing all of that, like weight, and like he wasn't eating that amount of protein and all of that. Now, after we got married, that is when the mask started to slip. So he would say things like, I have to go to the gym and have all this protein and eat all this food to look good for you and to be bulked up for you. And I'm like, look good for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to look like that, like, you're the one who decided to bulk up like this, right? Like, you decided to do this to yourself.
She got with him, whatever state he was in, but then he says that he's bulking up for her. Like, what? I remember a long time ago. I remember when I was like at my peak, like working out all the time before my back injury. I remember one of my friends was like, she just like hit me in the DMs and she was like, why are you doing all of that? And I was like, I think I gave the response. I hope she sees this video too, because she sees a lot of my content. I want her to comment if I can remember correctly. I think I said something like, I got to be able to fight these niggas off or something funny like like thinking back. I was dead serious though. Like thinking back on what I said, it was so dumb. And I probably wasn't even serious, but I really didn't have a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like I just was going to the gym. I was just working out. Like I definitely wasn't doing it for my wife because my wife got with me, you know, I'm like her, like her dude. Like I was always like athletic. I'm still athletic, but I wasn't like bulky. I wasn't big. I had no, you know, I was just cool. I was defined, whatever. But then I just started like going crazy. And I never really thought about why I was doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but in hindsight, I think I was doing it for the validation of like other men, but not, yeah, I was just doing it for the validation of other men, right? Because even when I say like keeping niggas up off me, that was so men, it'll be like, I don't want to mess with him. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it was. It's weird. I don't know what the fuck was going on.
I never told you to do that. So you always want to pay attention when it comes to dating someone. If you find that they're like transforming themselves to be someone to match you a little bit too much, right? And it's not organic, it's not natural, it's not something that they ever were. That is something that you need to pay attention to. At the time, I just thought, you know what? He bulked up. He has this newfound passion for the gym. It is what it is. I didn't know that someone with narcissistic personality disorder, they are going to mirror their target like crazy. And he had to bulk up in such a way and
Wait, so he was competing with her because she did talk about how she went to the gym and okay, he was competing with her. Wow.
Transform himself because he had to be seen as worthy of being my partner. But once we got married, he's complaining about the way that he has to eat all this protein and eat all this food for me. And I'm like, well, if you don't want to do something, you shouldn't do it. Like, it's not a requirement to be with me. You know, like this is something that you put on yourself. He has really deep abandonment wounds, right? And this is something I always encouraged him to work on. And it really showed itself in one particular instance. This was in July of 2024. He was going to get some food at this particular place that I don't like eating at. He was asking me what I wanted to eat. I was like, look, you know, I don't even eat from there. I don't know why you're asking me what I want. And I told him like, look, I'm going to go home and I'm going to order something. And at the time we were out at this particular plaza and it was going to be easier for him to just drive there, get what he wanted, drive back home. And for me, it just would have been easier for me to just Uber home and order what I wanted. So I told him, look, I'm just gonna go home and Uber what I want. So I got out of the car and I was about to call my Uber on my phone. I kid you not, this man drives in front of me, wrestles my phone out of my hand with such force, so angrily that like I'm pushed. and he drives off in the parking lot. He makes a loop in the parking lot, actually, like a lunatic, in anger. And at the time, I only had my personal phone. I didn't have my work phone. So I'm in the parking lot, no phone. He drives back around and I'm like, yo, what is wrong with you, sir? Like, what is wrong with you? He's like telling me that I can't just be walking out of the car on him. It's disrespectful. Again, abandonment wound triggered. That was the first, like, I've never seen him like that before. Narcissists, a lot of them have an abandonment wound. When I'm trying to address this with him and I'm trying to get him to take accountability, he's talking about the fact that he's doing all this stuff for my birthday. And I'm like, what does my birthday have to do with anything?
That right there, that what she's speaking to, the abandonment wound and all of that stuff, that is, I 100%, I definitely can see that being like the trigger for a lot of narcs. And also that what she described is what men will deem to be her using his vulnerabilities against him. She probably brought that up to him, was like, yo, you don't need to be like that with me. I'm not going to abandon you. I'm not going to abandon you. And then men will be like, oh, see, that's why I didn't tell you that my daddy left me. Like, my guy, she's just trying to help you understand maybe why you act like that is because you feel like, you know, you have a wound there that hasn't healed. You haven't worked on it. I'm telling you, I just got to talk about this. That is a perfect example of how men think. That's what men think women using, their vulnerabilities against them is. Like, that's a perfect example of that.
My birthday has nothing to do with this, right? Like, you're trying to love bomb me. You're trying to gaslight me. You're trying to manipulate me when you need to take accountability for your actions. So he does some semblance of fake accountability and he says, he's going to be working on himself. It's not going to happen again. I want to add this in because I think this is very important for people who might be in a work environment similar to Wall Street. Because I had worked on Wall Street for years, right? I had interned on Wall Street my junior year of college. I returned full time. A total of 5 years is what I spent on Wall Street. But you have to understand that there are a lot of narcissistic personalities on Wall Street. And I had normalized narcissists. Like, the guy I worked with the last 2 years I was working on Wall Street, I worked with him the most, right? Straight up narcissist. But you have to understand that on Wall Street specifically, and I'm not talking about just corporate America, because there is a big difference between Wall Street and corporate America, right? It's a different personality type. And in order for you to be successful on Wall Street, you do have to have narcissistic traits. But again, there's a big difference between having narcissistic traits and having narcissistic personality disorder. In order for you to be successful in most spheres of life, you do have to have narcissistic traits. There is a healthy amount of narcissistic traits that one can possess. But
I agree with her because of capitalism. If that's what she's alluding to, I agree with her on that. Definitely, in most cases, when it comes to capitalism, you must have like some narcissistic traits to reach a certain, if you're trying to ascend, right? That's why the system is fundamentally flawed. So I agree with that. And if you're susceptible to those, to those behaviors and those characteristics, then you could take that home with you, right? If you can't compartmentalize that, then you can take some of that shit home with you, and it can worsen your already, sensitive condition. So yeah, but I hear exactly what she's saying. I do agree with that. I think that was very observant of our current society, because you do have to be selfish. You know what I'm saying? Working with other people. I remember in sales, one of the first things that I had learned from like a top salesperson was never share your secrets. Like, I remember him he was younger than me too, but he was like the shit. And I remember him, like, one day we were talking and he was like, yeah, never share your secrets to success with like other salespeople. And because I don't have that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not how I think. I'm always like, yeah, let's build up the team. Let's build like everybody. I want everybody to be as good as, like, anybody that knows me. If you ever came to me and you talked about like social media or anything like that, like, I would literally just tell you like everything I was doing. I don't even care. I'll be like, yeah, I'm doing that, because I don't view you as my competition. Right. I just view you as a person that's, like that want some advice. So, but that doesn't, but to be honest with you, it doesn't help you, right? In most cases, it doesn't help you, to be fair.
But when you have a full-blown personality disorder, where you've had a psychotic break from reality, that's when things are now getting very dangerous. Now he starts to say some random things, and this is after we got married. He would say things like, I get why the guys at the office pay for escorts and essentially pay for smecks and stuff like that. And I would be like, huh? I'm sorry, what kind of rhetoric is that? Like, our values are not aligned if you're saying stuff like that. And you never said anything like this prior to us being married. So like, where's this coming from? He would just be like, oh, you know, I was just like thinking about that. I'm like, okay. And, you know, as a woman, you know that that's loser mentality, right?
You were just thinking about SWs? What the fuck are you talking about? I don't ever randomly think about SWs, not in that capacity. I do think about like how terrible society is, and you know, and how it affects them, and how we pressure women into doing that type of stuff. But I don't ever think about like oh man, like I'm like entertaining the idea of me paying for an SW or rationalizing why men pay for SWs. That's crazy.
Because you know that if a man has to pay for connection with a woman, it just means that he's a loser. He does not know how to build a connection with a woman. And so it's a loser mentality, right? And so I had to clock him about it. And I was like, yo, like, I don't know where you're getting this rhetoric from, and I don't know why you're saying this stuff, but you need to check yourself. Another thing that he starts to say is, you know, I get why guys choose simple women over career women, because now he has an issue with the fact that I'm a content creator. And he's throwing shade at me being a content creator and working as much as I do. And he would also say things like, people just don't know how hard it is to be an influencer husband. Okay. You knew what it was when you signed up, boo. Like, where's all of this coming from? Then he started to insert himself under the guise of helping me with my business, my influencer business.
Is very much given Eric Benet Halle Berry dynamics. It's very much given I'm the man, but she's a force, you know what I'm saying? But like but I'm a man too. Like it's very much given that, you know, he's insecure because of her success and all of that type of stuff. He's been insecure this whole time, obviously, but it got even worse. But when she became a successful content creator, I could clearly see that.
And he would always try to get me to accept like some low deals, some deals that didn't make any sense, when I knew my value and I knew my worth. And I was able to negotiate deals at like 4 times whatever rate he was trying to get on my behalf. And I was like, bro, what are you even doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you inserting yourself in my business?
This is in no defense of him. Also, you could just be more talented than him, which it seems, I mean, just listening to your conversation, you might just actually be more talented than he is. So there's that too. Like, he may just be a loser all around.
And why are you trying to get your wife paid less? And then he would throw shade about deals that I didn't take. A couple months ago, he was like, you know, you're the one who's turning down deals for 15K. And I'm like, huh? What's that supposed to mean? I'm not like you. I don't just take money for money, right? I understand that there's value to the work that I put out there, and I provide value to brands. And at the end of the day, this is my business. Why are you inserting yourself in it? And I essentially had to be like, look, respectfully, I need you to step away from inserting yourself into my business and what I'm doing. And then he would try to gaslight me and be like, you just don't value my opinion. You don't value my opinion. No, boo, you're trying to control me. You're jealous of me because you can't stand the fact that I could make one video for a brand and it's more than what you've earned in the entire month from your job. And instead of being happy for your wife and supporting your wife, you're trying to sabotage her career.
I swear, y'all, maybe it's just me. It could be my wife too. But if my wife is doing that, if she's making more money in one video or whatever, I don't care. If she's making more money than me or as much, when I tell you the level of, I have anxiety issues. I was just talking about this today with my friends. The more money my wife makes, the less anxiety I have. You know what I'm saying? Like, but simultaneously, the more the more stressed out my wife is, money, you know what I'm saying, money aside, the more anxiety I have too. So there's a fine line. Like, yeah, I want my wife to make money if, you know what I'm saying, if that's the thing, but but I don't want her to sacrifice her health or her well-being to make it. So if she's stressed out, then I'm going to be, you know, really stressed out. You know what I'm saying? But like, I'm definitely like, hell yeah. Cause that's just less pressure on me. It doesn't mean I'm going to make less money, but that's just less pressure on me as a man. The more successful my wife is, the more successful we are. Same thing with me. My wife knows the more successful I am, the more successful we are. So there's no competition between us whatsoever. There's never been a competition. This woman is not competing with this man. They are on the same team, but too many men view their wives as competition. They view their own wives, their own spouses, the women who are letting you enter their bodies and impregnate them, and they're cooking for you and they washing your dirty drawers. Y'all think that they're your competition. That's crazy. What did Kel say? Use your mind. That's crazy. That's dumb. That don't make no sense, fam.
Another thing that I didn't pick up on as a narcissistic trait is I remember one time, like, I was crying and he got extremely angry with me. Like, he was so angered by the fact that I was shedding a tear. He started to raise his voice and yell at me. And that was when I was like, oh no, we need to get in counseling because something is wrong with you, sir. Now, I didn't know what it was at the time, but the therapist clocked it immediately. She said to him in that first session, she was like, do you understand what it means to have empathy? Because it feels like you don't understand empathy. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the ability to be empathetic. It's this fake empathy. I never really understood that was what was happening. So if he sees me crying, it gets him so angry because he's incapable of putting himself in other people's shoes. Narcissists lack empathy. Also, after we got married, he would constantly make degrading comments about women. He was really frustrated with the fact that women had to do so little in comparison to men. So for example, I remember him making a remark about the fact that my bridesmaids came into town before my wedding, like a couple days before, and they were able to hang out. And he was like, you know, my boys, you know, they had to come in like the day before. And he was like, you know, what do your bridesmaids even do? And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, like, why are you so mad that women don't have to do what men have to do necessarily? Like, why are you so upset that women and men have a different experience of life? Do you want to be a woman, sir? Because that's what it's giving. And another thing that really upset him that I found very strange was he didn't like that there were plus size models featured in Sports Illustrated. And I was trying to explain to him that, you know, representation matters. Women of all sizes need to be featured and people need to see bodies that look like them. But his whole argument was like, men can't do the same thing. Women need to be held to the same standard as men. He's revealing to me.
What? No shade, no tea to Pedro. Women are running around saying that Pedro Pascal is like uber attractive. Pedro Pascal is not in shape. Like, there's no knock to Pedro. I love Pedro personally. I think he's a great actor. I love his demeanor. I can see why women are attracted to him. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's no shade, no tea. That man is a literal sex symbol. No six pack. No, none of that shit. None of that shit. Scruffy beard, all in all. And women love him down. I don't want to hear nothing about women can't do that shit. Y'all been telling us ugly men are the most attractive men forever. I see so many ugly men getting put on a pedestal, you know, especially non-black men, but definitely ugly. but y'all been telling us that ugly men, and when I say y'all, I'm talking about the media controlled by men have been selling us on ugly men are the most attractive men since I was a child. Let's be so fucking for real. Stop that shit.
Once we're married, just how misogynistic he is, which was something he hid very, very, very well before our marriage. And every single day, the mask is slipping more and more and more. And I had a solo trip with Virgin Voyages the night before. He has a mental breakdown. He's telling me how unhappy he is with life, how unhappy he is with his job, how upset he is that he can't go on this trip with me and everything. And his whole goal was to make sure that I had a very unpleasant trip and that I was thinking about how unhappy he was the entire trip. That is something that narcissists do. They don't want you to have any fun or have any enjoyment without them. They hate that. In addition to the degrading comments he would make about women, he was always trying to change me into a housewife. I know I'm the meal prep queen. You gotta understand that when I brought meal preps to the internet, this was for the corporate girlies. There are a lot of business girlies, corporate girlies who follow me. When I worked on Wall Street, yes, I did meal prep, but now I don't have to. I've meal prepped for brands and I've shown people how to meal prep. And he has been a natural beneficiary of my meal preps. And also, he really needed them because the dude wasn't eating healthy. He wasn't having vegetables, he wasn't having fruits. And so he really needed those. Apart from that, he would try to pressure me and shame me for not cooking every single day. Now, I'm the type of person I cook when I want. But if I don't feel like cooking, I'm not gonna cook because I don't need to. And when it comes to cleaning, I have always outsourced my cleaning. When I lived in New York, I outsourced my cleaning. Unless I genuinely want to clean my space, that is just what I do. But you know what it was when you signed up, right? And we talked about this. It never gave housewife. It was never that. Now, if you're wondering, well, why are you staying with this man while he's saying all these things? It's because there's constantly this gaslighting and this love bombing that's going on. He's constantly reminding me of things that he's done for me. That is just a small portion of the narcissistic abuse that I've experienced.
Also, they were married, so I don't question why you would stay with somebody when you're married. Even I don't care, married or not, but like I don't know why we got to stop doing that. Like, why you stay with? Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. She's emotionally invested into this relationship, obviously. And nobody saying that type of stuff has left a man or a woman at the first or the fifth red flag. Like, let's be fucking for real. I can't stand when people do that shit. That Monday morning quarterback and shit people like to do online is wicked work. I could never. Let's live in reality.
During this marriage. This is not the only reason why I'm filing for divorce. I came to find out some dirt on this man and what he's been doing behind my back for a while now. Out of respect for him, like, even though he doesn't deserve my respect, out of human decency, I'm not going to say it on here, but just know it is egregious.
Nah, we need that dirt, ma'am.
Now, when I found out what I found out, I asked him, I said, hey, is there anything else you're lying to me about? I gave him the opportunity to be honest with me because at the end of the day, I've been loyal, I've been faithful, I've honored our marriage. I meant my vows when I said them. So I gave him the opportunity to be honest with me and he still couldn't do that. In fact, his response was, I'm so focused on trying to get you a Range Rover because he knows that Range Rover is like one of my favorite cars ever. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? What does a Range Rover have to do with the lies that you've been telling me? That is classic narcissistic response. So I informed him that I would be filing for divorce and that it would be amicable and that we just do a clean split, sell the house, split the proceeds. What's yours is yours, what's mine is mine. Narcissists hate when they're no longer in control. And if you try to leave, they're going to punish you for it. So once I let him know that I would be filing for divorce, he went into our joint account and he transferred money into his personal account. He wiped it clean. That included a New York tax return tied to my income because he didn't earn any New York income in 2024. He transfers that to his personal account. And that is considered financial misconduct. If somebody lets you know that they're filing for divorce and you go into the joint account and you transfer money out and you wipe it clean, you have committed financial misconduct. Apart from that, he refused to release my phone lines because we were on a family plan. T-Mobile had called him. It's super easy for him to release my phone lines. He refused to release it because he wanted to surveil who I was texting, who I was calling. The only way I got him to release my phone lines was when I sent his mother a text updating her to let her know that I was aware of what was happening. Within an hour of me texting his mom, he released my phone lines. And then back to the financial misconduct with him taking out my New York tax return and other money from this joint account. His lawyer reprimanded him. His own lawyer reprimanded him for doing that. Like, you just don't do that. When he withdrew that money, he was hoping that that would put me in a tough situation. But dude, you married the finance baddie. Do you think I don't have money in other accounts? Do you think I was relying on this joint account? Do you think I tell you about all of my income when I clocked that you were jealous of me and trying to sabotage my career? That is standard classic behavior of a narcissist. When you try to leave them, they're going to try to financially abuse you, smear your name as well, because what he's been doing is talking to my friends and family, trying to create a narrative about me. They're going to try to keep anything hostage. They're going to try to surveil you. I caught him trying to log into the security cameras last week after I changed the passwords. So that is just standard, just narcissistic behavior. Now, in an effort to, I guess, get back at me after I told him I was filing for divorce and after he conducted financial misconduct and I called him out, he goes ahead and he files for divorce. What this does is it complicates things for him, because given that he has now filed the petition, we have to respond to that petition. And when we respond to that petition, unfortunately, all of his dirt gets put out there. And so what little dignity he could have walked away from this marriage with has now gone out of the window. Again, I wanted an amicable and a peaceful divorce. I really didn't want all of this nonsense. But with narcissists, chaos is how they thrive. They have to create drama. If I were him, knowing what I do know, I would have chosen to walk away from this marriage with dignity, whatever fragment of dignity he has left. But he chose narcissistic collapse, right? He chose ego and he chose to be childish. Now, could I have gotten on the internet and pretended everything was okay and put on a show for you guys? Absolutely. I can't do that and sleep well at night, and that is just not a part of my brand. If I'm telling you ladies to want better for yourselves, if I'm telling you to do better for yourself, if I'm telling you to stay healthy and wealthy, that is all a mentality, right? That is a mantra. So you have to want better for yourself. You have to walk away from the things that no longer serve you. And especially if you were literally a victim of a real life Joe Goldberg, like I was. Now, there are a couple people on IG who said, oh, you got married for content. And I wish I got married for content, honestly. Because
what? Who the fuck gets married for content? What does that look like? And what does that mean? Did she need him? Oh, because of the wedding? Like, so she got married. What? Y'all, the projection be strong. I'm sorry, because that don't even make sense.
Cost me so much. I would love to get my 75K back from the wedding. Honestly, that would have been invested. I would have had more money now. I would love to get back all the money that I've invested into this house, all the closets that I paid for, all the furniture that I've purchased, literally everything. I would love to get my money back. This has been such a loss for me. For you to get on the internet and try to think that people get married for content. I know I met my vows. My soon-to-be ex-husband, on the other hand, he didn't mean a word that he said. He was literally a real life Joe Goldberg. But let this be a reminder that you will rise again. I'm currently in the process of getting out of this marriage. We will see how my rise again goes. I hope this is helpful, and whenever I'm able to share more information, I will. I know the psychiatrists and the psychologists and the therapists will meet me in the comments and explain a lot of what I put down. And listen, it is never too late to walk away. Just like in finance, if you make a bad investment, cut your losses. It's not your fault. You looked at the financials, right? You looked at what was under the hood. You thought everything was good, but they put on a good show, right? They doctored the books. That happens sometimes, but you cut your losses when you recognize that what you're dealing with is garbage. If you take nothing else away from these videos, I hope that you learn to put yourself first and honor yourself and honor your boundaries, no matter the cost.
So with all that being said, at the end of the day, I'm gonna leave everybody with this. Your biggest hater is a man. That was my hey, this goes for men and women. We all should learn this lesson. Your biggest hater is a man. Always. Always. Women can hate. Women be hating sometimes. Yeah, women be jealous sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. But your biggest hater, your most dangerous hater, is going to be a man at the end of the day. And I know that as a man. That's the lesson I'm taking away from